deep within the high desert basin of northeastern Utah. An isolated 512-acre limestone and sandstone plateau known as Skinwalker Ranch has sustained one of the most intense, multi-decade scientific investigations into high strangeness on record. For generations, regional Native American tribes, local cattle ranchers, independent researchers, and clandestine defense contractors have documented a staggering array of anomalous activity on the property. Reports range from unexplained broad-spectrum electromagnetic interference and mysterious cattle mutilations to physical craft sightings and persistent atmospheric visual distortions. While public fascination traditionally focused on the skies directly above the central pasture, an area designated by investigators as the Triangle, a growing body of geophysical, radar, and seismic data has continuously reoriented scientific focus downward. Beneath the towering geological formation known as the Mesa, advanced sensor arrays have repeatedly logged structural anomalies that defy standard geological explanations. Rather than revealing a chaotic, water-eroded cavern network typical of Utah's sedimentary stone, subsurface diagnostic instruments mapped an organized, highly symmetrical void embedded deep within the bedrock. The search for answers reached a critical turning point when field researchers deployed specialized ground-penetrating radar arrays, seismic reflection tools, and cosmic ray muon tomography across the top ridge of the cliff. Cosmic ray muon tomography, a technology utilized by nuclear physicists to peer inside heavily reinforced structures and ancient Egyptian pyramids without physical destruction, tracks the precise density of solid matter by measuring how atmospheric subatomic particles pass through it. When researchers processed the density maps generated by these cosmic ray sensors, the return data presented an astonishing anomaly. Approximately 60 feet inside the dense sandstone matrix, the readings outlined a continuous, linear horizontal corridor running parallel to the cliff face. The void exhibited crisp, perpendicular angles, uniform ceiling heights, and distinct structural geometry, suggesting an engineered conduit rather than a random natural fissure carved by ancient groundwater. Attempts to reach this hidden cavity from the top of the mesa using industrial vertical core drilling rigs yielded further perplexity. When diamond-tipped tungsten carbide drill strings penetrated deep into the stone, they repeatedly encountered an impenetrable physical barrier. Drill rigs operating under thousands of pounds of downward pressure bound up, sheared off, or suffered catastrophic thermal degradation within seconds of reaching the target depth. When operators pulled the fractured drill strings back to the surface, analysis of the crushed bit slurry revealed microscopic flakes of ultra-dense silica glass, heat-resistant synthetic ceramics, and microscopic metallic alloy fragments composed of titanium, nickel, and carbon nanotube matrices. Metallurgists noted that these high-purity material combinations match special shielding engineered to endure extreme kinetic impacts, intense thermal stress, and broad-spectrum electromagnetic radiation. Recognizing that vertical drilling was repeatedly striking a protective barrier, expedition directors authorized a targeted horizontal excavation along the lower talus rock at the base of the cliff face. Utilizing heavy excavation machinery alongside specialized radiological and broad-spectrum radiofrequency monitoring teams, crews cleared thousands of tons of fallen sandstone boulders that had obscured the cliff's base for decades. The moment the outer rock wall was breached and heavy debris was pulled clear, diagnostic arrays inside the surface command trailer registered an immediate, localized broadcast surge centered precisely on the 1.6 GHz radio frequency band. This specific frequency, a protected band reserved internationally for deep space telemetry, satellite navigation networks, and military communications, has consistently served as the primary electronic fingerprint accompanying major anomalous events across the property. As environmental sensors monitored the newly exposed opening, technicians logged a rapid, drastic drop in ambient air temperature. While outdoor high desert temperatures hovered near 90 degrees Fahrenheit, a continuous chilling draft dropped the microclimate at the tunnel entrance to 36 degrees within minutes. This freezing airflow carried a distinct metallic odor resembling ozone and ionized copper, indicating that unsealing the rock face had breached a pressurized, highly electrified subterranean chamber that had remained isolated from the outside atmosphere for an undisclosed period. Stepping past the newly unsealed opening at the base of the Mesa, a forward survey team equipped with positive pressure respirators, portable multispectral illuminators, and non-magnetic survey equipment initiated a step-by-step physical investigation of the horizontal corridor. The immediate visual evidence confirmed what the cosmic ray muon tomography scans had previously suggested from the surface above. The surrounding sandstone walls showed zero evidence of hydraulic erosion, mechanical blasting, or conventional pickaxe excavation. Instead, the stone surfaces exhibited smooth, glassy striations, a structural signature consistent with extreme temperature plasma cutting or high-energy directed ablation. Advancing 60 feet into the horizontal shaft, handheld triaxial magnetometers logged localized magnetic field spikes fluctuating between 0 and 1.8 Tesla. Fields of this magnitude are capable of corrupting unshielded digital storage drives and inducing severe optical artifacts on digital camera sensors. As the team proceeded, the narrow corridor expanded into a vitrified vault where the far wall was anchored by a massive 14-inch thick metallic portal. Constructed from a non-reflective, dark titanium nickel matrix, this seamless bulkhead lacked visible hinges, latches, or mechanical locking mechanisms, appearing to be physically fused directly into the surrounding vitrified bedrock. Directly adjacent to the base of this metallic portal, resting atop a flat, artificially leveled sandstone ledge, the survey team uncovered the expedition's most astonishing physical artifact. Illuminated by high-intensity LED arrays lay a remarkably preserved biological specimen measuring approximately 4 feet in length. The physical morphology of the entity immediately distinguished it from any recognized terrestrial fauna. It featured an enlarged bulbous cranial structure with deep lateral eye sockets, yet lacked defined nasal passages, external auditory canals, or an open jaw structure. Portable X-ray fluorescence spectrometers swept across the specimen's dark outer surface revealed a startling discovery. The dermal tissue was physically integrated with microscopic, overlapping metallic scales composed of the exact same titanium-nickel alloy matrix detected in the bulkhead and the earlier core drilling slurry. Materials scientists on site hypothesized that the biological structure functioned as an engineered biosynthetic interface, an entity built to endure extreme environmental pressures, high G acceleration, and intense electromagnetic radiation inside the subterranean complex. As technicians positioned non-invasive ultrasonic sensors around the ledge to map the specimen's internal density without disturbing the site, environmental monitoring gear recorded an immediate, dramatic reaction from the surrounding vault. The ambient temperature inside the chamber, which had remained locked at 36 degrees Fahrenheit, began rising rapidly, climbing to 67 degrees in less than 4 minutes. Simultaneously, broad-spectrum radiofrequency analyzers locked onto localized energy pulses radiating directly from the specimen's cranial region, broadcasting at steady 3-second intervals on the 1.6 GHz frequency band. This localized transmission was not confined to the underground vault. On the surface directly above the excavation site, monitoring stations, spread across the central pasture, logged a simultaneous 300 nanotesla surge in local magnetic field strength. High-speed thermal cameras capturing the airspace above the ridge documented a distinct optical refraction effect, a visible warping of ambient light that mirrored historical atmospheric anomalies recorded during past high-strangeness events on the property. Inside the vault, the 1.6 GHz pulses synchronized with an ultra-low-frequency acoustic vibration emanating directly from the vitrified floor. Audio diagnostic equipment recorded a persistent 19 Hz infrasound wave, a frequency well known in acoustic physics for directly interacting with human neurological pathways to induce intense feelings of nausea, spatial disorientation, and auditory pressure. The accumulating empirical data indicated that the specimen was not merely an inert fossilized artifact, but a reactive component of a broader electromagnetic network triggered by the tunnel's unsealing. To stabilize the vault environment and prevent an escalating energy feedback loop, field directors authorized the deployment of portable cryogenic containment units. Technicians rapidly lowered the microclimate surrounding the specimen to sub-zero temperatures, halting the thermal rise and causing the 1.6 GHz signal to decay back to baseline levels. With the biosynthetic specimen safely secured for laboratory analysis, the team turned its diagnostic focus back to the 14-inch metallic bulkhead to determine what lay beyond the threshold. With the biosynthetic specimen safely stabilized inside a portable cryogenic unit, the scientific team turned its full diagnostic attention toward the 14-inch thick titanium nickel bulkhead guarding the back wall of the vault. To assess what lay beyond the seamless metal barrier without causing structural damage, field engineers deployed a high-resolution, ultra-high-frequency seismic acoustic reflector. By sending targeted piezoelectric pulses directly through the non-reflective alloy door and measuring the time-of-flight return waves, technicians mapped the geometry of the concealed space behind the portal. The returned acoustic profile revealed a second, far larger subterranean chamber extending over 100 feet deeper into the Mesa's core. The diagnostic readings outlined a series of vertical cylindrical conduits lined with high-density synthetic ceramics and stacked in a precise circular array. At the center of this lower vault, the seismic reflector detected a dense, spherical mass suspended approximately 15 feet off the chamber floor without any visible mechanical supports. Before the team could set up heavy diamond core drills to create a diagnostic access port through the titanium nickel bulkhead, environmental monitors inside the tunnel registered a sudden, drastic shift in local atmospheric pressure. The barometric pressure inside the vault dropped by nearly 12% in under 20 seconds, creating a severe pressure differential that forced air to whistle violently through the outer excavation shaft. Simultaneously, triaxial magnetometers positioned along the vitrified sandstone corridor registered a massive magnetic pulse surging to 2.4 Tesla, far exceeding any field strength previously recorded anywhere on the property. Inside the surface command trailer, digital monitoring systems experienced widespread electrical interference. High-definition security cameras capturing the excavation site suffered severe frame rate degradation and static tearing, while digital telemetry links connecting the subterranean sensors to the central servers dropped off the network entirely. The only diagnostic instrument that remained fully operational was an analog spectrum analyzer connected to an isolated loop antenna. The analyzer showed that the entire subterranean complex had begun broadcasting a broad-spectrum radio transmission spanning from 1.6 GHz up to 3.2 GHz in harmonic intervals. On the surface directly above the mesa, the effects of this underground energy surge were immediately visible across the central pasture. Field researchers stationed in the triangle recorded a distinct optical phenomenon in the night sky. The atmosphere approximately 1 mile above the ground, at the exact altitude of the persistent visual anomaly known as the bubble, began to glow with a faint, iridescent violet luminescence. Thermal imaging cameras targeted at the glowing airspace captured a rapid thermal drop in the upper atmosphere, while ground-based laser rangefinders pointed at the anomaly experienced beam deflection, as if passing through an intense localized gravitational gradient. In response to the escalating electromagnetic field, the underground survey team deployed a specialized high-density plasma torch to execute a precision hot tap through the perimeter of the metallic portal. As the localized superheated plasma jet made contact with the titanium nickel alloy, the material demonstrated extraordinary thermal conductivity. Rather than melting or scorching, the metallic bulkhead dissipated the heat across its entire 14-inch thickness almost instantaneously, preventing the torch from penetrating the surface. Analysis of the torch interaction revealed that the bulkhead was actively absorbing thermal energy and converting it into a secondary electrical current. Within seconds of the plasma jet touching the metal face, localized magnetic sensors registered an immediate spike in static charge along the vitrified floor, accompanied by a bright, blue corona discharge jumping between the doorframe and the surrounding sandstone. The empirical data demonstrated that the barrier was not merely a passive structural wall, but a reactive defense system engineered to absorb kinetic, thermal, and electromagnetic energy, routing it directly into the underground facility's power architecture. Recognizing that conventional thermal cutting methods were ineffective and actively feeding energy into the system, expedition directors ordered an immediate pause on high-temperature operations. The team shifted strategies, preparing to deploy specialized non-invasive quantum magnetometers and subsurface acoustic sensors to map the energy flow through the surrounding vitrified bedrock before attempting another physical breach. Following the unexpected electromagnetic defense response triggered by the high-temperature plasma jet, the scientific directors ordered a complete stand-down of thermal cutting operations inside the Mesa vault. To analyze the high-voltage electrical current now coursing through the vitrified sandstone floor, engineers brought in shielded, non-conductive diagnostic gear. As field technicians used ceramic-tipped probes to inspect the junction, where the 14-inch metallic bulkhead joined the surrounding rock matrix, they discovered a series of heavily oxidized, arc-welded structural plates half buried under crushed shale and concrete rubble. Clearing the concrete debris revealed that these lower structural plates were not part of the original vitrified architecture. Instead, they were heavy-duty steel mounting brackets and lead-lined junction boxes dating back to the late Cold War era. Embedded within the crushed shale were severed lengths of thick, rubber-insulated coaxial cables and heavy-gauge copper wiring that had been crudely spliced directly into the titanium-nickel bulkhead. Stenciled logistics codes visible on the corroded aluminum housing of the junction boxes matched classified military supply codes used by major defense contractors during the late 1980s and early 1990s. The recovery of this legacy contractor hardware provided tangible proof that the modern scientific expedition was not the first group to discover and breach the Mesa Vault. Historical research conducted by defense analysts on the team indicated that during the early 1990s, a covert research initiative funded under a black-budget special access program operated on the property. The physical evidence left behind inside the tunnel indicated that these early researchers had attempted to tap directly into the subterranean network's high-yield power conduits to harness or duplicate its broad-spectrum energy broadcasts. However, detailed metallurgical analysis of the severed copper wiring revealed catastrophic damage. The internal strands of the copper conductors were completely melted, fused, and spalled outward, a structural pattern characteristic of an immense reverse current electrical discharge. Microscopic inspection showed that when early defense contractors attempted to feed external electrical currents into the titanium-nickel bulkhead, the subterranean infrastructure initiated an automated counter-discharge. This localized electromagnetic feedback loop generated thousands of amps of reverse current in a millisecond, vaporizing their diagnostic monitoring rigs, fracturing the lower entrance of the tunnel, and causing a massive structural collapse that buried the excavation site under hundreds of tons of fallen Mesa sandstone. The contractors subsequently abandoned the site, sealing their logistics records under non-disclosure agreements and leaving their destroyed equipment behind to be hidden by decades of natural erosion. By mapping the path of the legacy copper lines with low-frequency inductive tracers, modern investigators discovered a second, hidden branch of the subterranean network extending southward toward the Triangle. Ground-penetrating radar sweeps along this secondary route revealed a series of buried vitrified stone pipes running 12 feet beneath the pasture floor. These conduits were lined with micro-thin layers of crystalline silica, functioning as high-capacity waveguides designed to transfer electromagnetic energy and low-frequency acoustic vibrations directly between the Mesa Vault and the central field. This structural discovery solved a multi-decade mystery regarding the origin of the ranch's localized energy surges. The atmospheric anomalies recorded in the airspace above the Triangle, including localized magnetic spikes, GPS signal warping, and 1.6 GHz radio broadcast, were not random weather occurrences or ungrounded phenomena. They were directed surface projections generated by the subterranean energy facility and transmitted along the buried silica waveguides. With the historical context of the prior contractor failure fully documented and the subterranean waveguide network accurately mapped, the scientific team gained a crucial insight. Any brute force attempt to mechanically penetrate, burn, or electrically bypass the titanium-nickel bulkhead would inevitably trigger the vault's automated feedback defenses. To gain access to the deep chamber beyond the portal without causing another catastrophic discharge, the team would have to decode the precise digital modulation scheme embedded within the 1.6 GHz broadcasts and harmonize their diagnostic instruments with the subterranean system's natural resonant frequency. Armed with the knowledge that the subterranean facility's defense mechanisms were linked to its electromagnetic resonance, the scientific team abandoned brute force entry methods in favor of a frequency matching protocol. Working inside the surface command trailer, signal analysts and software engineers analyzed high-resolution spectrum logs recorded during the tunnel's unsealing. Using fast Fourier transform algorithms to break down the 1.6 GHz signal, they discovered a recurring, complex binary modulation pattern embedded beneath the carrier wave. The transmission was structured as a repeating sequence of 96 digital bits, divided into 6 distinct subframes. The first 3 subframes contained environmental telemetry, including real-time measurements of atmospheric pressure, ambient temperature, and local magnetic flux density, while the remaining 3 subframes functioned as an automated diagnostic handshake protocol. The subterranean system was continuously broadcasting its operational status and listening for a specific, mathematically harmonized response code before allowing state changes in its internal power distribution nodes. To test this hypothesis, engineers constructed a specialized software-defined radio transmitter connected to a directional antenna array pointed directly into the vitrified entrance of the Mesa tunnel. Rather than broadcasting high-power radio bursts, the transmitter was programmed to echo the 96-bit binary sequence back into the vault, adjusting the signal's phase angle by precisely 180 degrees to achieve active destructive interference with the background electromagnetic noise floor. The moment the phase-matched signal hit the open entrance of the tunnel, local environmental monitors registered an immediate, dramatic response. The broad-spectrum radio noise floor inside the vault plummeted to near-zero levels as the phase-canceled signal neutralized the ambient static. Simultaneously, the localized magnetic field surrounding the 14-inch titanium-nickel bulkhead dropped from 2.4 Tesla down to a stable background reading of 0.05 Tesla, matching the Earth's natural geomagnetic baseline. With the intense magnetic field disarmed, the team advanced back down the vitrified corridor with portable low-frequency acoustic transducers. By applying precise 19 Hz infrasonic vibrations directly to the outer edges of the metallic portal, technicians induced acoustic resonance within the titanium-nickel matrix. The high-purity alloy, which had previously absorbed superheated plasma without melting, began to vibrate in sympathy with the acoustic driver. A soft, audible metallic click echoed through the vitrified sandstone corridor as internal locking pins, actuated by giant shape memory alloy rods deep within the frame, disengaged for the first time in decades. The seam around the 14-inch portal parted by a fraction of an inch, venting a soft, pressurized burst of inert argon gas and releasing a bright, pale blue luminescence from the interior chamber. Stepping through the newly unsealed bulkhead into the deep vault, researchers found themselves inside a massive circular cavern measuring over 100 feet across. The walls were lined from floor to ceiling with stacked, cylindrical conduits constructed from dark, high-density synthetic ceramics, intercut with vertical channels of shimmering crystalline silica. At the geometric center of the room, suspended entirely without physical supports above a polished basalt pedestal, hung the 15-foot spherical object previously mapped by seismic reflection tools. The sphere was composed of a seamless, semi-translucent composite material that pulsed with internal light in steady 3-second intervals, matching the exact cadence of the surface-level 1.6 GHz broadcasts. Long-range thermal cameras aimed at the suspended object revealed that its surface temperature was operating at -200 degrees Fahrenheit, creating a localized thermal sink that continuously drew moisture out of the air and converted it into fine frost patterns along the surrounding basalt floor. Directly beneath the suspended sphere, embedded in the surface of the basalt pedestal, lay an array of flush-mounted control interfaces featuring geometric line patterns filled with the same liquid-like titanium-nickel alloy seen on the biosynthetic specimen scales. The physical setup confirmed that the Mesa Vault was not a storage facility or a residential bunker, but a fully functional, deep Earth energy generation and telemetry node, a planetary anchor point connected to an ancient, subsurface grid that had remained fully operational long after its builders had departed. The physical unsealing of the Mesa Tunnel and the systematic documentation of its deep Earth vault mark a monumental watershed moment in the investigation of Skinwalker Ranch. For generations, the narrative surrounding the 512-acre property oscillated between indigenous tribal folklore, speculative accounts of high strangeness, and unverified eyewitness testimonies. Today, the rigorous application of cosmic ray muon tomography, seismic acoustic reflection, and phase-matched radio frequency analysis has anchored the entire phenomenon within the domain of hard, empirical material science. The cumulative evidence gathered across every stage of this subterranean expedition establishes several concrete, verified findings. Engineered subterranean infrastructure. The Mesa interior is not a random natural cave system formed by hydraulic erosion. It houses a symmetrical, multi-level facility featuring plasma-ablated silica corridors, vitrified sandstone vaults, and a 14-inch titanium-nickel bulkhead engineered to withstand extreme thermal, kinetic, and electromagnetic stress. Biosynthetic integration. The 4-foot biological specimen recovered near the portal represents a highly specialized biosynthetic entity. Its metallic scale structure, composed of the same titanium-nickel alloy matrix found in the facility's structural bulkheads, indicates an artificial design built to endure intense pressure, thermal fluctuations, and radiation. Active subterranean surface feedback loop. Surface anomalies across and the triangle including localized magnetic field spikes, optical lensing, thermal drops, and 1.6 GHz radio broadcasts are direct physical projections generated by the underground facility and transmitted through buried silica waveguides. Historical covert involvement. Severed high-voltage copper lines and military-grade junction boxes confirm that black-budget defense contractors attempted to breach the lower vault in the late Cold War era, triggering a catastrophic electromagnetic feedback discharge that buried their equipment. Despite these dramatic physical discoveries, fundamental scientific questions remain unresolved. Researchers must carefully distinguish between confirmed physical artifacts and broader speculative interpretations. While the existence of high-purity alloy bulkheads, levitating composite structures, and complex 1.6 GHz binary transmissions is an established material fact, the ultimate origin, operational age, and overarching purpose of this deep Earth network remain open to rigorous scientific inquiry. Scientists have yet to confirm whether this subterranean facility represents an ancient non-human monitoring station operating on autonomous energy cycles, an exotic, classified defense installation built deep within the lithosphere that escalated beyond human technical control, or a global planetary energy architecture whose full scale spans far beyond the Uinta Basin. Furthermore, the vertical channels extending steeply beneath the central basalt pedestal, reaching into ancient basement rock where extreme lithospheric pressure should prevent open voids, remain completely unexplored. As multidisciplinary research teams continue to analyze the recovered titanium-nickel alloy samples, decode the 96-bit binary transmissions, and map the deep silica waveguides, the unsealed Mesa network remains an undeniable physical reality. The investigation at Skinwalker Ranch has permanently moved beyond myth and urban legend, delivering clear material evidence of an advanced technological infrastructure operating beneath the high desert floor. The primary task facing modern science is no longer proving whether a hidden facility exists inside the Mesa, but determining who constructed this ancient node and what will happen when its full energy architecture is completely brought back online. If you enjoyed this documentary, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below.